We got a bidet!
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. As you can see, we have someone different today. Sarah's not on with us today. She's off at a concert having some fun. And honestly, I think this is more Kyle and mine's domain, talking about The Force Unleashed today.
Oh yeah.
Very, very exciting game. It was probably groundbreaking for when it
Mhm.
came out. I mean, the
Mhm.
physics engine on that was huge. Um, like a huge step forward in gaming. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about the game. There's actually a lot to cover as far as, what was going on with the game. What did they do to expand on it? There's different versions of it that have different things in them, and it's like, what in the world? How is there so many things for one game? So we'll talk about that, and then we will talk about some of the things we disliked, some things we did like, and then we'll close it out at the end. So right now, we're gonna just kick it off and talk about, the game in general. I mean,
Mhm.
I can't remember what year it came out. I think I was a sophomore, so maybe like
Yeah,
2008.
I was either I would say either in middle school still or early high school. Um, yeah, because I feel like it's like 2007 or 8,
I'm looking it up. It came out in 2008. Yep,
2008. Nice.
yep. On my
Good
birthday
recall.
in 2008. Uh, as you guys may know on the channel, the channel anniversary is my birthday, so that's how we can kind of remember. But Uh, yeah, this game came out. I remember being super excited for it. I
Uh-huh.
can't remember if did they have a demo? Do you remember?
I don't think it was a demo. I think it was just a straight release. That at least I can remember. Um, but I remember seeing it on like commercials for it, and I was just so hyped because they were talking about the force abilities and how
Hmm.
it was so different from other games that they made.
Yeah, being over the top.
Yeah, like you're just picking up certain objects where like you could do that a little bit in other games, but this one it was like you said over the top compared to others.
Yeah, I mean, like I remember when I still remember when I first booted it up. Like whenever they did the promotional stuff, it was always
Uh,
that first level of Star Killers. So like the game opens up with Vader's mission, and then he
hmm
finds Star Killer, but then your first mission is like on a uh
It's like a rebel base.
factory or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And so I remember seeing the mission played so many times just from
hmm
watching videos, but then when I actually got to play, I remember the first thing I did was in the hangar just picking people up with a fours, seeing what I could do and just throwing this person that way and throwing
Yeah.
this one that way. It was
hmm
insane.
Yeah, I remember starting up and it was with Vader, and that was so like amazing to me because then like you really got to feel just like Vader's strength and the Force and ability to fight. Like I was not expecting Vader being the first person you can control when you started up.
Right. And that was probably one of the first times we actually got to see those kinds of powers from Vader
Mhm.
because we don't see that stuff in the original trilogy.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, that was a cool way to open it up. I think oh yeah, there was an achievement or trophy
Uh,
if you played it on PlayStation, for like killing 100 or like 200 Wookiees or something.
oh,
So
really?
there was just nonstop enemies always
Mhm.
coming at you, and it's this really cool first impression of, uh, just being able to use the force and tear people
Yeah.
apart. There's
hmm
also a trophy for killing your own stormtroopers. It was like bad day on the job or something like that.
Yeah, I
But
was just gonna bring that up. I remember you could like they would fight with you, but you could also just pick them up and toss them or throw your lightsaber at them.
yeah,
And
it was kind of weird to have that for the first mission because like
yeah,
after you become Star Killer, he's like, make sure there's no witnesses, kill
yeah,
everybody, even our own
uh-huh.
people. And so that
Yep.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know why Vader was. I mean, that's kind of out there.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know if they just wanted you to feel like because Vader I always felt untouchable
Yeah.
when seeing him. So maybe him doing that stuff to even his own people was like, wow, he really is on another level. But I remember I played through this game a couple times and I was really bummed to figure out that you couldn't select the Vader mission.
Yeah, that's right.
You only could do it if you started a new game.
I wonder what their choice was for that. Like, why would they do that?
Yeah, I thought it was like yeah, I don't get it because like it's just like you aren't really losing any resources, I feel, if you just unlock it and are able to replay it.
Right. I don't know,
I
but
mean,
yeah, I do remember that you had to like do a new game every single
yeah,
time if you wanted to play
yeah,
that mission.
yeah. I thought that was a bummer, but besides that, I've never had a time in the game where I really hated it. Like the whole thing was fun. Like from start to finish, the powers, the story, all were really amazing to me.
Yeah. So maybe we should talk about what were some of the differences on the games because
Mhm.
well, first of all, what did you play it on?
I played it on the Xbox 360, and I think I either rented it or borrowed it for the Wii for a bit. And it was just different combat. And I think there was also story differences too, I felt.
Yeah, so I played it primarily on uh I believe I played it on Xbox. At the time I was
Xbox?
more of an Xbox person.
Yeah.
And so I was in the same boat. I played it on Xbox 360. And then I had heard about the PSP having like a special mode called
Mhm.
Historic Missions. And so eventually I bought it on my PSP as well. And then it was like a completely different experience. It was kind
Yeah.
of wild. Uh,
Hmm.
so you were kind of talking about how you played it on the Wii a little bit.
Yeah.
So the Wii, PS2, and I believe the PSP. I can't speak for the handheld like Nintendo DS game because I haven't played that
Mhm.
one. But those three that I mentioned, they all had like a completely different combat system, like the way it
Hmm.
feels, like a
Yeah.
different engine. They had
Hmm.
the same idea, like you could, still slaughter people with a
Yeah.
lightsaber or turn on the force and do what you got to do.
Hmm.
Um, but there was these things where like when I was playing the PSP version, when I was playing the missions, like we would go back to the Jedi Temple and stuff, and that wasn't
Yeah.
in the console versions, at least not
Hmm.
right away. Uh,
Hmm.
so it seemed kind of weird that it was kind of like if you bought it on the lesser consoles, quote unquote, like the previous generation, that you got the full story. But if you bought it on the current consoles, then you had to like have those pieces missing, and then they sold it to you later as DLC.
Hmm.
Like, what's going on here? You know?
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know if it's because maybe with how much they could put in for combat and the bigger systems that, and also they could get more money from DLCs um, that they couldn't. They wanted to give the lesser consoles more of their worth. So maybe they thought we'll put more story in this because they don't get as much combat and other graphic uh, perks than the major consoles. Is
Yeah,
my guess.
maybe because they didn't have to have as nice graphics. Maybe they had more time to put that stuff in.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, needless to say, it was fun either way. I don't think I finished it on PSP. I
Hmm.
tried it on the Wii because of the motion controls and whatnot, but I
Yeah.
don't think I finished it on the Wii.
Same. It kind
But
of was a turn off for me, the motion controls.
yeah, I mean, they weren't, I don't think they're awful because it's kind of cool to be able to, move a lightsaber
Mm.
and it's actually
Yeah.
doing what you're doing on screen. But
Uh-huh.
there were certain things that were kind of weird, like
Yeah.
the camera and whatnot.
Hmm.
It was always kind of awkward.
Yeah, it could be weird and kind of. I remember, I think like the first boss mission you had to like swing it the right way, and then sometimes it wouldn't catch the movement right, so you'd have to start over again. Or
Yeah. You also had to like line up the controllers a certain way, like the way they were motion on, like if they were looking this way, then you had to like turn your controller.
yeah, because yeah, you didn't do that right. You're just constantly redoing it until you can get it right. And
Yeah.
that was before I think they added an attachment which made your movements more accurate to the Wii.
Was that like that little block thing?
Yeah, that
Gotcha.
was a that was around when I think Zelda Wind Waker. I think that's when it came out, so it's probably a few years down the road.
Gotcha. Some of the other modes, so like we mentioned that, the PSP, the Wii, PS2, all that had like a different engine and had more
Uh-huh.
story to it. The thing that drew me to the PSP at first was something called the historic missions. So I think Sarah and I talked on the last Shoot the Sheev podcast about Lego Star Wars that when for me growing up, I was huge into movie licensed games. I always loved the idea of being able to play the movies that I enjoyed. And so these historic missions, you basically got to use these like Force Unleashed combat abilities, but play the battles that are in the movies. So like Anakin and Obi-Wan, that's already an over the top battle as it is. Then you get to throw in all the crazy force powers.
Hmm.
But like Luke and Vader on Bespin, and I want to say the Pit of Carcoon, the Geonosian Arena. I thought there was one more. It's not coming to me though. Oh, the Dooku
Yeah.
battle from episode 3.
Oh, okay.
So he had 5 of those. And then supposedly there was like an endurance mode and a multiplayer one versus one type thing, but I never got into that because I didn't
Hmm.
even remember it, quite
Yeah.
honestly. So
I think in because now I remember I also had a PSP and playing it. I think you could also play as different characters. Like you didn't have to play as Star Killer.
like
But
skins,
yeah, where like it was legit you were playing as those characters, but I don't remember if it was just those modes specifically or if you could play them throughout the story. I remember fighting could have been just the like Luke versus Dooku or something, but I could be thinking of something else.
I do remember the console like the 360 and the PS3, they did
Uh-huh.
have skins you could buy
Oh,
and then play. So like all the Star Killer ones were pretty
uh-huh.
much things you unlocked in the game. But like
Yeah.
I remember being like C3PO or
Mm.
Luke,
Yeah.
Obi-Wan, all that good stuff. But
Hmm.
those were purchased. They weren't ones
Hmm.
you could just unlock,
Bye.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
And the other oh, I'll talk about that when we get to it and the things I didn't like, because that's actually
Uh-huh.
something I didn't like. Let's see. There was a book. I can tell you that. They
There was
wrote
two books.
there's 2 books.
Yeah, wasn't it the then it wasn't it the first one which was the this game and then the second one, right? Or the second game?
Right. I'm talking about like just the first game. So they had a
Oh, sorry.
novel. I think they had a graphic novel too.
I think you're right. I mean, did you ever read the book?
I read like half of it, and it pretty much like followed the game to a T and didn't really add anything. And so, since I got like halfway through it and it was all that way, I just stopped reading it.
Ooh, graphic. Oh, yep, they do have a graphic novel of it.
Nice. Probably the last thing to talk about that was associated with the game is we were talking about how there was DLC missions that were reflected from, the other consoles, but there was also some DLC missions that weren't. Like they were actually
Mhm.
fresh and, you know, here it is, here's some new content. And that was if at the end, you have the choice to be good or evil, so to speak. And so if you chose the evil side, the DLC goes down that road where
Mhm.
you fight Luke at uh, the Rebel base on Hoth.
Yep.
And then you can also go to, um, wait a minute. No, yeah. Then there was the one
Oh,
where you go to Jabba's palace.
think yeah,
I think the
yeah. I thought
Jabba's
the
palace one was first though,
yeah. I
because
think it
don't you fight like Kenobi or something?
yeah. You fight Kenobi, and then after that you go to Hoth and fight Luke.
Yeah, that sounds about right now. Because I
Yeah.
remember, I think you fight Boba Fett too at one point.
Yes, you do.
So, like, you go to Jabba's palace. I
Hmm.
think you fight the Rancor and
Yep.
Boba,
Yep.
and then head over to Hoth.
Yep. Correct.
Yeah. So they had a lot of cool stuff. I
They
mean,
do have Alexis.
I think they used to call that Star Wars Infinities or something, which was like
Hmm.
the what if basically version of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool that we got to see that.
That was like one of the. I don't. You would probably know more. I didn't think at the time they had a lot of DLCs for Star Wars games. So I thought that was kind of like a cool add-on.
Trying to think of all the ones from around that time, but I think you're right. I don't think there was very much.
Because I know DLCs were kind of getting on the they were there, but they weren't as big at the time. But I that was big when I saw there were DLCs for Star Wars, which was really cool.
Yeah, probably right when DLC was starting to finally catch with everybody,
Uh-huh.
starting to be the way for companies to not put the full game in there,
Yeah, sadly.
which is such a backhand when you go to buy a game and it says the complete edition in the title. Like, are you
Hmm.
kidding me? But that's a separate rabbit hole.
Yeah. Yeah, we could talk about that for a long time.
All right. Was there anything else about the game in general that you wanted to talk about?
Um, I thought at the time the amount of work they put in was really cool. Like just the graphics I thought were good, and I was really amazed by that. The places they let you explore. Um, yeah, it was just it was cool to be able to explore a world that I, as a kid, really wanted to be able to explore more than just being railwayed through other games, if
Yeah,
that
and be
makes
able
sense.
to have all those crazy force powers too.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Oh, I guess there is one more thing I can say about this game. It's kind of not exactly the game, but this game was so popular that Soul Calibur 4 actually had Star Killer in it.
I forgot about that. You're right.
Yeah, if you bought, I think both versions had Star Killer, but if you bought the
Mhm.
PS3 version, you got
Uh-huh.
Vader. And if you bought the Xbox version, you got
Yes.
Yoda. And if you
Okay.
wanted the other one, you had to buy it.
Okay.
Like if
That's
you had
awesome.
a PS3 but you wanted Yoda, I think you had to
Uh-huh.
DLC it.
Uh-huh.
It makes sense though because Yoda's green like
Yeah.
Xbox and
Hmm.
Vader's got the black suit just like the PlayStation.
Yeah. At the time, the PS3
And he was a
and the
bit
X. Yes.
overpowered too.
Was he?
Yeah, because Starkiller had this move where he would like punch someone in the gut and then like throw them behind him. So
Uh-huh.
like if you had the edge of the map to your
Uh-huh.
back, then
Oh,
you
you
could
throw them
just
off
do
the
your yeah, do your grab move and throw them over
uh-huh.
the edge.
That's awesome.
So
Was Now that you said it, I couldn't remember that they put him in after the first game came out, or did they put him in before to kind of promote it?
ooh, that's a good question. Let's see when that game came out.
Because I remember playing Soul Calibur and unlocking him. I just thinking about it, it's like, man, I thought,
You are
you know,
correct. Soul Calibur came out 2 months before The Force Unleashed. So yeah, that was promotional.
oh, that's awesome. That was
Yeah, I
a
did not know that.
You don't see that a lot anymore.
No, definitely not Star Wars characters. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't, has Soul Calibur been a thing much?
They just released a new game, but I don't think it has any special oh actually it has one uh DLC character, but that's not like Star Wars related at all. So
Yeah, 'cause I think Mortal Kombat's the one that really has the attention when it comes to
mhm.
DLC characters.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of Mortal Kombat's the big uh DLC, bring random characters outside the um that universe in.
Yeah. All right. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk about some things we did not like about The Force Unleashed. So stick around. Have you ever wondered what Amazon coffins are and what they're full of? Well, we got you covered here on the channel. Check out our playlist of our Amazon coffin unboxings where Sarah and I open up boxes that have Amazon returns and we share with all of you what we get in each of those boxes. If you ever wanted to get into liquidation and want to know what types of things you can find, check us out. Now back to our show. Welcome back, everybody. We're here to talk about some of the things that we didn't like so much. The tough love section for The Force Unleashed. Kyle was going to start us off with one of his tough loves.
So one of the things that I wasn't a big fan of are the collectibles that you have to find throughout the game. Um, Obviously they're optional and you don't have to take them. But if you wanted to make your lightsaber different, different color, or if you wanted different skins, you did have to go out of your way to find them, which to the point is not bad, but some of them were um I felt a little more difficult than needed to be to find.
Yeah, and guides weren't really like super accessible at that point. It
Yep.
was that was probably right in that time frame where it was the leaving the guidebooks and starting to get into, guides on YouTube, so to speak.
Yep.
So it was hard to find
Yeah.
those.
Yeah, that was the time where unless you had friends or you just had somebody on the internet or YouTube that was playing the game and that could help you, you really had to put in the time and effort and find what you wanted.
Are you telling me you don't put the time and effort into your video games anymore?
I mean, I try to, but now it's so easy. If you ever get frustrated, you could just look up a guide.
Yeah. The one thing that I did, like probably my favorite collectible in the game, I wasn't there like a black lightsaber.
Yes.
So it's like a black beam or something.
It reminded me of
The dark
what?
saber.
Yeah, the dark saber.
Before wasn't that before the dark saber was a thing?
When when was the dark saber announced? Because I think you're right. I think it is before.
See,
Let's say it wasn't. Say it
the
was in like a
first
book.
the first appearance of the dark saber was in 2010, so 2 years later. So yes, this was the first black blade.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And then I guess technically it wasn't like you could argue if it was a dark saber. or if it was just a cool
Hey, this is
skin that they,
cool kind of a thing.
yeah. And that maybe they were hinting, it's like, hey, this is a lot of people like this. Let's put it in the series.
Yeah, Dave Filoni. Hey, that
Hmm.
thing's dope. I'm gonna make a whole sword out of that.
Yeah, we're gonna have a whole story for this thing.
One of the things I didn't like, so we were talking about how, you buy these skins and whatnot for playing in the story mode. You could change it to be like C3PO, like I mentioned, Anakin, Ben Kenobi, and all that. But the big thing that's really different about this game is that Starkiller holds his lightsaber backwards, kind of like Ahsoka. And so when you go to use these skins, they don't revert back to what they normally do. And so that really bugged me. Like when I wanted to be able to play the game, like if I had Anakin's skin, I wanted to play the game as Anakin, but you couldn't do that. There was no way to have the lightsaber the other way. And
Hmm.
obviously the fighting style would have been a bit different as well. So
Yeah, that just felt like they could have put a little more effort into that because that doesn't seem like it would be that hard to flip it and then add a little different move sets for the people who use the lightsaber forward instead of backwards.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't make video games,
Yeah,
but I don't know.
hard to say. I mean, it would have been cool. I think a lot of people would have appreciated the effort, but I'm not sure how time wise and money wise if that was something they could have done.
Yeah. It probably would have been some sort of like retooling of the system because, they built that whole engine on him being backwards. Wasn't the Wii version forward? Like, did he hold it behind him or wasn't it
I think it was behind him. I just think when you swung, he whatever move he did was just starting from the back.
weird? Yeah, because then
Yeah.
I'm sure not the average Star Wars fan, preferred the backwards way. So like
Hmm.
playing that was probably like a whole different uh feeling of
Yeah.
playing that game because I would normally just do it like a normal sword, but then you have to
Yeah.
learn a whole other way to do it.
That was the first time I have ever seen a lightsaber held that way.
Same.
Like I don't know if any well, I don't the movies don't, but maybe one of the cartoons at the time or a novel, maybe they said it, but at the time that was the first I've seen it, which was cool. It made feel a little more unique.
So I'm doing all these little fact check things just to add some, information here. So we're
Uh-huh.
talking about how the lightsaber backwards is a new thing. Well, I was trying to see when did the Clone Wars debut? Clone Wars movie, because I think Ahsoka was in the movie.
This
Let's
was
see.
what did this wait? Like 2012, the Clone Wars?
Clone Wars, August of 2008. So that was
8?
one. There was so much Star Wars content in that little bit of time. You had Soul
Yeah.
Calibur in July, Clone
Uh-huh.
Wars in August, Force Unleashed in September.
Dang.
What happened?
That's a I yeah, I thought those were like years apart. I don't remember. Man, that's crazy that the Star Wars movie was all that. Wow. What did happen? You're right.
Where has all the cool stuff gone? And now we just
Yeah.
have Disney that can't seem to get everything together.
Nope. I
I
feel
mean,
like they're on the up and up now, though.
I hope they are. I mean, I know they just canceled a whole bunch of stuff for Marvel, but
Oof.
whatever.
Yeah.
Trying to think if there's anything else I really didn't like about the Force Unleashed. The menus were kind of clunky, kind of like how
Yep.
you were mentioning that you can't have the level select for the Vader mission. I
Yeah.
remember that being kind of weird, and I also remember, um, like if you bought the Ultimate Sith Edition, which comes with all the DLC on, well, it was 2 discs actually. The
Oh,
first disc
really?
was basically the regular game, and then the second
Uh-huh.
disc was the DLC stuff.
Uh-huh.
And the DLC, like they use like the same save system. So like
Hmm.
if you save something on disc 2 and you put in disc 1, then it made it look all weird
Oh.
in your loading screen. So that was probably one of the things I didn't like. They could have cleaned that up a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah. I guess kind of just for the time. I remember there'd be sometimes I would be using a force power and there'd be so much going on that it would be laggy or I think in a rare occasion it might crash. But I know at the time I mean, all that was new and probably pretty hard on the hardware. So that makes sense. That was annoying.
Yeah. I think otherwise there's not a whole lot that I did not like.
Yeah, same.
Well, there's probably a ton that we do like to talk about. So when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the things we really liked about The Force Unleashed. So stick around. Have you ever wondered what it's like to grow up during the prequel era? Do you wonder what type of merchandise was around then? How different was it than it is now? Check out our videos on this channel where we talk about the merchandise of The Phantom Menace and the merchandise of Attack of the Clones. They are here on this channel. The Phantom Menace is my first video ever on YouTube, so there's a special place in my heart for that one. So please, if any, check that out. Now back to our show. Welcome back, everybody. We are here to talk about things we did like with The Force Unleashed, and honestly, there's probably quite a bit. I think we're gonna kick it off with the story, just to,
Mhm.
kind of set the groundwork of, what was The Force Unleashed. And if you made it this far, here's some spoilers for you. So the story was really cool. Like Darth Vader was ripping the Empire ripping through Kashyyyk because he's looking for a Jedi that he heard about was there, and turns out that there is a like a little toddler, so to speak, and this toddler happens to like use the Force to take Vader's lightsaber from him, and so Vader basically thinks like, oh, this might be a good apprentice to possibly overthrow the Emperor someday. And so he takes the baby, kills all the people that are around him, like including the Imperials. There's like an officer and stuff there.
Yep.
Um, and so he kills all them and then leaves with this little kid. And then it has like this interesting shift with the cutscene where it's like the baby's face and then it shifts into his adult face
Mhm.
and then you become the apprentice. And so you basically have, I think there was there was 3 trials basically. There was Ram Koda, who was at
Yep.
the
Right.
factory,
Yep.
and then I don't remember the second dude's name, but he was like Watto looking character. He was a weird alien.
Okay. I don't remember. I remember wait, that was the second one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
because
was
you
on
met him
like
at
the
the
trash
junk,
planet.
yeah, the
Yeah,
trash planet. I
yeah.
thought he was third.
Third one is Shakti
Yeah, I remember Shakti.
because she was a
Uh,
Jedi Master. I think that's why
yeah.
she was the third one.
Hmm.
And then so like you like prove yourself to Vader, and then when Vader is just about to be like, all right, let's do this, then the Emperor comes in the room and he's like, I knew this the whole time, and he tells Vader to basically pledge his loyalty by taking out Starkiller. And
Yep.
so Vader stabs him in a way, just like Riva from Kenobi, where he stabs him in a way, throws him out the window, and then Vader has one of his medical droids go and pick him up and, get him back to tip-top shape.
Hmm.
And by piercing this hole in his chest, it probably left a hole in his heart, thinking that Vader is no longer his friend. And so now he wants to escape and then figure out a way to join a cause or like the rebellion, because we see the beginning of the rebellion in this game. He tries to find them so that he can help them fight back. And essentially, the game gets to that point where we were talking about, well, I guess even before that, you get to go back to a couple of the planets and liberate them, quote
Mhm.
unquote, a little bit from Imperial control, which is kind of cool. And then the final battle, you have a choice. And this is kind of what Kyle and I were talking about with the light side, dark side thing. If you chose the dark side, where you want to basically get revenge on Vader, you can do that. Or if you want the light side, where you would go after the Emperor and save your friends, you could do that too. But
What
essentially,
was you?
that's the ending of the first game.
I was gonna ask, what is when you first saw that choice, what did you choose for your first time?
I chose the dark side the first time.
You chose the dark side. I
Yeah, I think
chose
I just
the
I think I thought about it and I was like, would I rather fight the Emperor where he like this whole game I've been practicing fighting people with lightsabers and not somebody that was like pure force powers.
Mhm.
And so I decided to go for Vader instead.
That's fair. I chose the Emperor first, and then second time I did Vader. Um, I definitely liked that part that like you definitely got two different boss like final boss battles.
Yeah. The thing I really liked about the Vader fight too is that um like as you progressively got his health down, like there was
Hmm.
different things that happened where he was like losing his armor, like
Hmm.
getting to that wheezing point that we see in Return of the Jedi.
Hmm.
Like there's a part where I think like smash like cut off his helmet so he doesn't have a helmet anymore. One of his legs gets busted and so he just has like a mechanical leg down there hanging
Hmm.
out instead of his boot.
I think his
Um,
respirator thing on his chest gets broken at some point.
yeah, because yeah, we get to hear the wheezing in the final moments of that battle. But
Hmm.
yeah, just so many cool choices, and I feel like they took this story and like really loved it. Like they didn't just do it to cash grab kind of a thing.
Hmm.
Um, they gave us a really cool story with some really cool mechanics and gave
Yeah.
us a really cool Star Wars character.
Yeah. I don't think there was any boss fights that I despised doing because they were just um when you got to the end of each, you had a quick time events, and
Yeah,
each of those were very, I felt unique and cool, and kind of made you feel like Star Killer's skill um of his abilities and able to finish each one off in kind of a different way.
yeah. I know some people have, their some mixed feelings about quick time events, but I'm actually kind of a fan. As long as it's not the entire fight, I'm a
Yes.
fan.
Yeah. I think there was some in that game where they were repetitive, but it wasn't at crucial moments. It was more just like minor bad guys where it's like you could finish them off, but it was like the same cutscene kind of quick time event for it. But
Kind of
it was still cool.
like those trash, what would they call, what would you call
Like
those?
the trash golems.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like there's a couple of those that'd be running around, and then yeah, the final blow for the quick time event would be like the same thing.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean that it was still cool. I mean, it being able like when you finally dwindle down their health, it kind of felt like an achievement to me because it's like, oh, I can finally get like do this and finish it.
The Rancor ones were fun too.
The Rancor ones were fun. They were probably, I think, one of the more annoying ones for me, but it was really cool to see him swing up and then finish him off
Yeah. Oh yeah, because you like flip in the air and then come down and right in
Yep,
his face.
right
Yeah.
in his face. Um, I really liked I know um I think it's near the end of the story, after Vader kind of betrays you, there's a whole mission where I don't remember why he's there. Um, but you get to a point where you bring down a Star Destroyer. And I remember it was a pain to get to that point because like you had to do a bunch of little things like TIE fighters were coming down and shooting at you, and you had to use your the sticks on your controller to move the Star Destroyer a certain direction so you can bring it closer. So it was kind of tedious at points, but like once you finally got it and you brought it down, um, that's when I felt personally that like, wow, he really is really strong with the Force.
Yeah. Plus all those force powers. Like
Yeah,
the repulse was my favorite.
is that the one where you push him out?
Yeah, he like jumps up in the air, gets in like a ball, and then
That
explodes.
was yeah, that was probably my favorite too. What others? Because there was the what was it? The throw, the repulse, um,
There was a saber throw.
lightning. Yeah, the saber throw was the mind control. Was that in this one?
I don't remember. I know there was lightning.
Yeah, lightning. I remember. Um, oh, there was the force push. That was a big one. That was always fun when you held it down and then like you just like if you had a bunch of enemies, you would just see them all flying.
Yeah. I think one of my other favorite ones, I'm pretty sure it was in the game, was like you could do a force uh
Gr
grip in
grip.
the air, and then you
Uh-huh.
have your lightsaber and you just pull them and then it would stab him into the lightsaber.
I don't remember doing that, but that sounds really cool.
I'm pretty either that or he chucks his lightsaber at them
I remember
in
that one.
midair. It's one of
Yeah.
those two.
Okay. The throwing one I remember, but the other one, maybe I just wasn't good enough at the time to achieve that.
I've definitely done it in the new Jedi games
Oh yeah,
because that's in there. Yeah.
nice. Um, I guess who was your favorite boss, like, to fight
Ooh,
in this game?
my favorite boss. I'm trying to remember because like I remember this game, like we kind of talked about with the story. It was like a certain set of missions and planets, and then there's like that little middle area where they're like very short levels, and then you have
Hmm.
three longer levels. And um, hmm, I enjoyed the Vader fight. I mean, that's
The
kind
fate
of
of
that might be a little biased just because I
yeah.
like Vader a lot, but um, the Shock T one was kind of cool too because that had like a Sarlacc in
Hmm.
the background that was doing some weird things, and
Yeah.
like they're like parkouring off the tentacles, fighting and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's right. There was that big monster. That was really cool.
Yeah,
I
if I were to
really
pick like one of the three Jedi that he was hunting, I'd pick Shakti.
Shakti. I would say it's probably the first one you encounter.
As in like
More
when Vader's fighting or Starkiller.
no, Star Killers.
So Ram Koda.
Yeah, I think it's more just because he like I've never seen like you having like to fight a Jedi, so it's like kind of weird being on the opposite side of like the good guys. Because usually, like if you played a game, you would be a Jedi, but now you're hunting down the Jedi's.
Right. Which that was a very cool angle to come from too, is
Yeah.
just being the bad guy, you know.
Hmm.
I mean, obviously the script gets flipped at one point, but
Right.
um it's
But for the
probably the game where you got to like once you started as the Empire,
uh-huh.
for the longest you got to be the Empire. Because like in Battlefront 2, the whole story campaign, they were like, "Oh, you get to be from the side of the Empire," and like three missions later, out of like 12, now you're in the Rebellion. It was like,
Okay.
what?
Feel like I'm part of this, and then like it got taken away so quick.
Yeah. So I appreciated that this game had a decent amount of content where you got to be the bad guy, and they ran with that idea with the DLC. So
Hmm. Oh, they really ran it with the DLC, which I thought was, um, in my opinion, one of the cooler choices to do. Like running with like, okay, we're just gonna make a this DLC where you're definitely the bad guy.
yeah.
Because like I felt there was always kind of a, not that he wasn't a Sith, but like hesitation and him. I think he actually kind of questions Vader at the start, or it seemed like he was kind of internally questioning his orders and if the side he was on was right.
It could have been. I don't remember per se, but I think they
Or
all kind of do a little bit. Like
yeah,
you are betraying him, so does
uh-huh.
that mean that someday maybe I might to you, kind of a thing? Because they're always
Yeah.
betraying each other. They
And I
can't
guess
live in harmony.
no, I as a person who's, I mean, I read some Star Wars book that kind of talks about like the rule of two. So it's always like that, but then at the time I didn't really see that. But like I more kind of appreciate them having that where like Star Killer is questioning his loyalty towards him, um, which knowing that rule of two kind of is really cool because that's kind of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like you're
But yeah,
using
that's
each other.
it started. I'm trying to think like if we ever got to see like this whole rule of two get messed with before this game, but like that's how it starts. Like,
Yeah,
um, they just find the next one, move up, find the
mhm,
next one, move up, kind of a thing, and
yeah,
sooner or later they're just all killing each other. The Jedi don't even have to do anything.
nope. Um, yeah, because they always just you either get the knowledge and the power to take over your master's spot, or you just die.
Yeah.
But sorry for a little detour. But I know the side characters I thought were pretty interesting, like the pilot and the robot, the sparring
Oh
robot.
yeah. Forgot to mention the robot. He was cool,
Yeah,
dude.
he was a cool dude, and it was uh they do kind of bring him back um in the newer games DLC, which I thought was a cool callback.
Yeah, I think his name
Um,
was Proxy.
I think you're right. Proxy had a cool ability where he can transform into another person.
Yeah,
Like,
like he took the visual look of other people. So like he would train Starkiller as
huh,
like fighting Obi-Wan Kenobi. Or I remember at one point, I forget what, I think it was the level, I think it was the same level as the Star Destroyer where you take it down, where Proxy like randomly in the middle of the level is like, we're gonna do a training mission, Master, and he like switches between like three different Jedi and Sith
yeah,
all at
uh-huh,
once because it's like Darth Maul, Kenobi, and Ram Koda and all that. I forget what level it was, but he just kept changing between the
changing.
three of them.
I do remember that. I don't, now I'm questioning if that was the PSP version or if it was the like Xbox version, I'd say. I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So yeah,
But
he
that
was
was still
kind of a
cool.
cool character.
Yeah. And then the girl, I don't remember her name. She was kind of
Juno.
the Juno.
Yeah.
She was the linchpin of like him questioning kind of everything he does, what he's been doing.
Right.
Um,
She's kind of the key to him realizing things aren't that great because I think Vader um well they try to hurt his friends and
yeah,
that's one of his friends so that starts to make him not trust even further so
I kind of wonder. Um, I don't know if it's deeper than this. Um, because I know maybe Vader kind of saw a reflection in himself with him and Padme with Starkiller and Juno.
could have.
Yeah, I don't know if at the time they. That's just a guess by me, but it'd be kind of cool if they kind of did throw that in. It's like, oh, I know if I can get to her. 'Cause I thought she played a big role into like why he would obey him.
Yeah. Well, they really emphasized that later on in like the second game too, which we'll have a podcast about at some point. But I remember that vividly from the
Hmm.
second one. It was part of the trailer, I think.
Yeah, I think it was like the start, like that the intro of the game. I think they used that to uh for trailers to announce it.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that you really liked about the game or
I
wanted
think
to
we've
mention?
covered most of it, just like the idea of, actually really caring about the game.
Mhm.
They said they were going to have over the top force powers, and they definitely delivered.
It did.
Customization, which was cool. So, like,
Hmm.
the first half of the game, you're a Sith, so, you have a red lightsaber. Um, but the second half, you're a Jedi, so you actually get to pick the color you want as long as you
Yeah.
found a collectible, which if maybe you're Kyle, maybe you didn't find them all.
I did not find them all. But
I
oh,
I definitely got help on some of those.
yeah, they if I did find them all, it was definitely through looking or someone told me.
Yeah.
I I would like to mention, if I'm remembering correctly, the lightsabers did give you perks for different colors too.
Yeah, there was some different things that were going on there
Yeah,
with different parts.
yeah. Like some I think gave you like if you equipped like the basic red one, I don't think gave you any kind of boost, but like if you equipped the green one, you got more health. Like a blue one, maybe like your force abilities are stronger or something. But I thought that was kind of cool that like maybe you didn't like looking for them, but like if you wanted those extra boosts,
Yeah.
um,
I feel like I remember that too.
yeah, it could be. I thought it was in both them. I thought it was definitely a big thing for me in the first one because that was really cool.
Yeah. I like that too.
Yeah. Um, yeah, this game overall I thought was just a really cool because I wasn't it was kind of like a drought in Star Wars games at the time, wasn't it? Like
Well,
that was like the big one.
I remember before Disney, there's usually quite a few Star Wars games that were coming out, but
Hmm.
2008, I know 2005 is around when Revenge of the Sith and Lego Star Wars became a thing. And I think 2008 was when the second Lego Star Wars game came out. I don't remember.
Oh wait,
Uh, but as far as like new and like super creative, probably.
okay. Yeah, because I remember the Lego ones were always fun, but like there was just not like Battlefront was to me was like their big go-to one.
Yeah, I think that was around '05 as well. Because that
Yeah.
came out around Revenge of the Sith.
Hmm. I did play the Revenge of the Sith game. Um, I don't know if it was for the Xbox. I thought it was a PS2 thing. Um,
Yeah, Xbox, PS2, Game Boy Advance, and Nintendo DS.
okay. Yeah, because besides that, I don't really, yeah, that was probably like a big change up to how they were making Star Wars games. I know they had like Contour, but I don't think that was even earlier than that. Um, so yeah, I thought that was like a really cool change up. I feel like for some people, it got them into Star Wars again for at least a moment.
Yeah, and gave us hope for some cool content in the future, which,
Yeah,
we eventually did get some, but uh, we'll be
took
talking
a
about that
while.
in a different one.
Yeah.
When we come back, we're going to just wrap it up, maybe talk about some things that we forgot to mention along the way. So stick around. Have you seen The Mandalorian? Do you wonder what Operation Cinder was that they mentioned in this show? Well, we got you covered because we have an entire playlist dedicated to the Star Wars Battlefront 2 campaign, which highlights Operation Cinder. So if you check out our playlist, you'll be able to see what actually happened with Operation Cinder and know what they're talking about with the show. Now back to ours. All right, everybody, welcome back. We are here for the final segment. There's only a couple things we really want to mention here. One of them, so we were talking about like Soul Calibur in the first part of this video and how there was like a promotional appearance of Starkiller and some other games. There's actually another one, and that was Lego Star Wars 3, The Clone Wars. So we talked about Lego Star Wars a little bit, like the first two games, and Clone Wars was a bit different. If you haven't played it, it's actually a really cool one in comparison to the originals. But anyways, if you collected mini kits and whatnot, you could unlock extra characters, and Starkiller was one of those extra characters you could unlock. It would be the Starkiller like from the first mission. It wouldn't be like his dark side version or anything like that, so to speak. But he appeared as the way he looks in the very beginning of the game, just like in the Soul Calibur game. I don't remember when that game came out. Again, that's another good one to look up here.
Which is bringing back a bunch of good ones.
That game released in 2011, so 3 years later. So
Yeah,
maybe that was more promotional towards the second game.
that could
But,
be.
um, but yeah, it was cool to see him appear in some other stuff.
Hmm.
I really don't think we're gonna see him pop up in Disney's Star Wars, which is very sad.
It is.
But
I,
uh, they did have other things for him.
I guess it's kind of a random question. Do you feel like he's a character that's worth having like his own spin-off or being brought back, even if it's just a mention of him?
I think it would be cool to get him involved. I mean, the actor himself is very much involved because he's the
Yeah,
voice actor for the Emperor and Darth Maul and all that for
yeah.
the animated shows.
Hmm.
And so it wouldn't be very hard to get the
Yeah,
source material, right?
yeah.
But I think it would be cool to see him come back in some way, shape, or form. We haven't talked about the second game very much because we're going to do another podcast. But needless to say, the cliffhanger is a huge one, and so we
Yeah,
don't really know where his character ended up.
yeah.
So yeah, it'd be
That
kind of cool to see him come back. I think I think it might be kind of a maybe a weird one for people that don't know who he is to
yeah,
accept him because he's so OP, but
yeah. He's very OP. Yeah. I mean, it'd be cool even if it's just like a non-canon series, like even if it's a mini series, because I
yeah,
know with the ending of the first one and then especially the second one, it's weird. Um, it'd be hard to like fit that into the main uh timeline, but he's still a cool character, I think, and I personally think it would be cool just to see him come back, but uh, I not feeling that Disney has any interest in that at the moment.
same. I I'm not saying that they're the best at planning things, but even DC right now, the comic people, even they are saying, we want to have a universe where it's, the basically
Oh
our
yeah,
main
our
story.
main timeline. Yep.
And there's the side thing where it's kind of
Yep.
like random stories.
Yeah.
I think Disney could do that. They could do their own thing plus a
Yep.
Legends section. Like if you go
Yeah.
to the store and you see Legends on the book, that's what I'm
Hmm.
talking about.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think there's a bunch of stories that are kind of not canon that I think good could make a good comeback if they decided to like go in that direction and they had their two separate one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would
More
be
con
cool just because I didn't read many of the books for Star Wars, and it would be kind of a cool way to, expose people to it just
Yeah.
through Disney Plus or something, doing those
Yeah.
mini series. Like there's a book series on like X-Wing and stuff.
Yeah.
Never read it, but I've heard it's very good, and you
Yeah.
have the source material.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I think it'd just be cool. Like even if it like more content is always a good thing in my opinion.
yeah,
Sometimes it can be like the more in detailed content can kind of be a drawback, but more characters, more stories, I never think are bad, especially for a franchise as big as Star Wars.
right. Probably the last thing that I want to bring up is that we talk about Star Wars Black Series figures on the channel every now and then, and there's actually a really cool set for The Force Unleashed that they just announced not too long ago. I think it was an exclusive to one of the conventions, but I don't remember. I just remembered the price tag was very, very high. But um, check it out if you just Google like Star Wars Black Series Force Unleashed bundle or whatever. It's a 3 pack of Star Killer and 2 Stormtroopers, and the packaging is supposed to emulate the cover of the video game. So if you're wondering why are they having 2 Stormtrooper figures in here, well, that's why. And there's like Force Lightning on the
Mhm.
packaging and stuff too. So I think it was like 112, $120 or something like that. So that's why I was like, whew, sheesh, kind of a
Yeah,
thing.
that's a lot. The only thing I would,
1 second. Hey, no. They just have to bark at whatever's outside.
they barked at like when we were literally like a couple minutes from being done.
Yeah. So what were you
Uh,
saying?
oh, the only thing I was gonna say for people who haven't played this game, if you have the ability to play the game, I know it's an older game and the graphics aren't as good as they are now, but I do recommend a play for that.
Yeah, I highly recommend. You can't. There's so many older Star Wars games that are like really good, and just people don't know about it because they're
Uh-huh.
older.
Yeah.
Um, but they are bringing some of them back. Like if you want to play the like Wii/PS2 PSP version, it's on the Switch. So
Uh-huh.
the Switch version follows that version
That.
of the game. So
Hmm.
we don't know. Neither one of us could confirm if it was pure motion control or if there's an option to not have it, but
Hmm.
um, it is one
Hold
way
on.
to do it.
Tech, do a minute. Yeah.
Sorry, I just I didn't want to. Hey, I got word from Cole about his interviews and stuff.
Uh-huh.
He's gonna come up tomorrow.
Oh wait.
And then he was looking to stay tomorrow night and then Monday night as well. 'Cause he's got another interview on Tuesday.
Oh wait.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, I'm gonna be up early those days, so
Yeah. I let him know that he's got a 9 o'clock interview on Monday.
oh wait.
Sorry to bother you. I wanted to let you know and make sure it was okay with you.
Oh wait, thank you. Sorry about that.
No worries. I know
Uh
all the editing is in this final segment, so that helps.
oh, okay. But yeah, I recommend people play it if you can. I know it's kind of hard. I think I don't think you can buy it on like Microsoft and PlayStation Store. Um,
Definitely not PlayStation Store. I know
yeah.
you can do the Ultimate Sith Edition through the Plus subscription.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it's a streaming. It's not, you can't download it to your console. You have to do like the virtual console streaming from the cloud type deal.
Oh, that's sad. I don't like that.
I don't like it either.
Yeah. It's like the Switch with Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'd rather not do that. Yeah, besides that, even if you look it up on YouTube and just watch it, it's still I think it's a good watch.
Yeah.
If that's your thing. I can't recommend the book because I've never read it, but if you like the character enough, maybe pick up the book.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was our talk on The Force Unleashed, which again, that came out in 2008 in September. So quite a little while ago,
Mhm.
about 15 years ago.
Oof, don't say
But
that.
yeah, makes us feel old.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can't recommend it enough. It's a very, very good game, very good story, groundbreaking physics in the game for its time, and so definitely check it out. And it's also one of those really good Star Wars games. You know, sometimes people are like, "Oh, these ones aren't very good." This one was, so
Yeah,
check it out.
that one is.
Yeah. If you enjoyed this type of video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way you are notified when the next one drops. We have started doing video game discussions, and so check back for more. We'll definitely do one on The Force Unleashed 2 coming up eventually. Drops a like if you like the video and drops a comment letting us know your memories and thoughts on playing The Force Unleashed. And then, as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.